I got to be honest here. There's a very good chance we're all screwed. So tomorrow, life may change as we know it. I'm not even exaggerating here. There's a good chance oil could go to 140, $150 a barrel. I'm making this video because those of you actually subscribe to this channel without any particular encouragement to do so recognize that I have certain abilities. I wouldn't say they're infallible, they're not by any means, but I can see things other people don't see, and it's simply because not so much I see farther or see better, but I can see things using my own specific specialized knowledge that others can't. My background in advantage play gives me certain specialized knowledge in when it comes to predicting certain types of events, in this particular case, economic events. Now, to cut a very long story short, I would recommend, and this is mainly to protect you, this is not an aggressive financial measure. To protect yourself, I would seriously consider investing in the price of oil and natural gas. Now, I wouldn't invest a huge amount unless you already have some kind of investment expertise. The financial markets can be quite dangerous, and make sure you know exactly how much your total risk is. You're probably going to be looking at some kind of ETF. I'm going to be using the spread betting company IG Index to invest in Brent crude and LNG. If you're not going to do that, I would recommend looking into the possibility of a future where the price of oil is significantly higher, like 50% higher than it is now, and that will have knock-on effects on things like food production. I'm not going to go full zombie apocalypse nutcase on you and recommend you dig shelters and stuff, but couldn't hurt to make sure you're stacked up on tin food. So why am I saying this? It's essentially because the Strait of Hormuz is closed. It's been closed by the Iranian military. There is no military solution to reopening it. Uh, you could go into great detail to explain exactly why, but essentially, the Strait of Hormuz, there is no way to protect ships passing through it from drone attack. That's what it comes down to. It's not easy, but it's possible with various measures to protect it from missiles by degrading the Iranian military. But in terms of drones, they're just too small, they're too cheap. The coastline is too wide in that area. It's roughly the size of the Californian coastline. It's a very large area. There is no way you can stop drones being launched from there. And even if you could, you have to convince insurance underwriters to take on the risk of a tanker going down the strait. So that has to be lower than 2 or 3%, or you're talking about crazy insurance premiums. There is an unusual amount of fear about this from sources I respect, but moreover, having undergone a lot of my own analysis on this, there are some things which are just not being reported. I'm guessing a lot of people aren't aware of them. The first and the primary one, which is definitely not being reported, is that if you model the whole conflict in game theoretic terms, the motivation of the Iranian military is probably going to be not simply to extract concessions or stop the current bombing campaign against it. It's going to be to double down, and just keep pushing. They benefit from a world where oil is destroyed. I mean, it will greatly hurt their own population, but I don't think the regime really cares that much. If you take oil out of the global economy, then you essentially, to a large extent, destroy the American and Israeli militaries. You know, all their vehicles run on oil. There's no substitute for that. There's no way around that. Not going to lie about this. We are facing a very dark and threatening future. There are secondary and tertiary consequences that nobody can model. There's too much chaos involved. How this impacts, for example, Asia, where schools have closed down because of the spike in oil, which is relatively minor compared to what will come. how you can predict effects like that. It just gets impossible. And how all these different effects will interact with each other is incredible. I mean, essentially, we're talking about the execution of a doomsday weapon. It's fortunately not as directly cataclysmic as the use of a nuclear weapon, but in some ways it's more profound because it affects absolutely everybody. There's no one who doesn't buy things from a shop who isn't affected by this. Now, could I be wrong about this? God, I hope so. And there's a reason I'm not doing this on a channel which is aimed at a mass audience. It's just you guys who subscribed. It's just I wanted you to be aware of the risks. Uh, Maybe a deal could still be done. The stated positions and all the posturing you get with the various actors makes it seem unlikely that's the case. I think there's actually a slightly higher probability because Trump is quite a gift for selling losing scenarios and bad deals as a win. I mean, if you could do that, fine. I'll take that as a win in this case because the alternative is not worth thinking about. Similarly, I think the Iranians are portrayed as religious nutcases, but you find that even the most religious of religious nutcases kind of like money. So there is a possibility as the markets get out of hand, pressure is brought on the various governments to come to a deal. That does rise. So there's a possibility if you do try a defensive hedge on oil and natural gas. Natural gas is very important because that's how you get fertilizer, and fertilizer you need for food production. There is a possibility that those would actually collapse tomorrow and you might lose money on this hedge, but that's the point of a hedge. You won't be paying bigger food prices and the global economy won't collapse in future. So it's worth sacrificing a small amount of money against that possibility.